I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com, and this is Mr. Saltwater Tank RUF, Raw, Uncut, First Impressions, the show where I call it as I see it and check out new products in the flesh. This week, I'm talking about the Orbit Reef LED light, also known as the R24 light. So let's unbox this thing and let's jump in here. All right. We've got a setup guide, which is cool. We're not here for the setup guide because who reads those? You should, but right. So here's the light. First, this looks like a Red Sea light. Not saying it is, I'm just saying first impression. This looks same form factor, maybe a little lighter, a little lower profile. So we have a fan on the top, which has now become commonplace. It pulls air across the heatsink on top as opposed to through the fixture. And we have kind of like a cluster, not a puck. I guess it's, in a way it's a puck, it's square of LEDs here in the center. No diffuser, I'm noticing that, which is fine by me. I'm not a diffuser fan. I don't feel like it's needed. Some people like the look. So no diffuser that I'm seeing. Immediately we've got some whites and some reds. We have some mounting screws on the top. I'll have to dive into how they have this thing mounted. No mounting hardware, no mounting solution out of the box, which would make sense because everyone's going to mount this differently. Okay. Looks proprietary plug. This is one thing that I always look at. Now, let me preface this. I look at it because I have a 12-foot tank behind me. Getting the light plug from one end to the other with the native plug is an issue. This is not a light for a 12-foot tank. This is great light for a nano tank. So the plug to the connector is just long enough that it's probably going to get it below the water line. Looks like there's not an O-ring on here, so you shouldn't be getting any water down this anyway. And then I'm going to look at this end and say, hang on, I may be surprised here. So they have an extension cord with this, looks like an extension cord, so that this way you have some extra length between the light and then the power source. So let's just look at this when I'm talking about extension cords here. Looks like this has this little cord to go to the power supply from the light. I'm 6 feet tall, so that's, let's call it 5 to 4 feet. Plenty of room to go from the light through the extension cord that comes with it to your power supply, which is great. Nothing drives me crazy more than when I've got no space between the light and the power supply. So good job, Current, on that one. I'd like to see that. Thanks for thinking that out. Now, one thing I'm going to do on this show, especially with more technologically advanced products like the R24 here, is first show I'm going to have a look at it, give you first impressions. Second show, I'm going to jump into the hardware. So if you're wanting to see the app, this is app controlled. I'll be doing that in the next episode. First impressions of this thing are great looking nano light. It's black. It's in a really sleek type of look. I like the heat sink and the fans on it because to me it's like just industrial enough to say like this is a solid light, but it's also black so it fades your view as you look at your tank. We've got a couple mounting options on this. I'll be curious to see what those options are. Like the cord. Okay, so I'm speaking of mounting options. Looks like there are screws on top if you want to suspend this. And there's a threaded plug in the back as well, so it's probably got a gooseneck for it. Like the long extension cord option for it, for getting the distance between the light and the power supply. Perfect for a nano tank, which is what this is meant for. You know what? Let's just fire this thing up real quick, just for the fun of it, and see what this looks like when I've got it turned on. And see if I can blind myself. Not that your human eye is a good judge of light output, because it's actually not, because the spectrum of light that lights for your corals kick out, your eye is not a good one. So if you wanted to measure light output, please use a par meter. Don't use your naked eye. So power supply here to, it helps when you get the right end of the extension cord on the cord. And they give you a nice little divot there so you can line things up. There we go. That's connected. And then this gets connected here. Oh, look at that. Ask and you shall receive. It actually comes with a little box here. So you can see this. We have the same divot so you can line it up. For guys who aren't patient like me, you can't jam it in there. It has, this looks like a little wire for an antenna. And, aha, it has a little teeny tiny remote. So it has a temperature sensor on it. I'm actually reading the manual here. That's cool. Mounting screw, wood screws, 3M adhesive. I gotta know what's in the little box. I'm thinking this is a controller, but that's not what it is. So this is a stickies, so a two-sided Velcro for that. And then we have the temp sensor here. So I'm assuming, again, without reading the instructions, this temp sensor plugs into the controller via USB. If your tank gets too hot, it will shut down the light. I bet that's what that's for. It says temp right on here. I'll report back to you on the other episode, but you've been waiting this whole time for me to fire this thing up and see what it looks like. So let me go plug this thing into the wall, and I'll tell you what I see. Okay, first impression is when you plug it in, it doesn't immediately come on, which in a way is great, because a lot of times you're like, this is cool. You plug it in, you go, I can't see a thing. So at this point would be a good time to jump into the manual. Maybe it's telling me that I need to install an app before it's going to get going. As I said, this is a raw, uncut first impressions. I've seen this product once. I covered it on some Aquashella or Reefapalooza coverage that we did. But that is it. So now we have to connect to it with the app. So, perfect. Next thing that I got to do is download the app. I'm going to do that in the next episode. Just a quick rundown of this light. Like the form factor looked. I like how it looks. I like that what appears to have many lighting options. And I like that I've got a long distance between the light and the controller. It even comes with a temp controller. So if this thing is overheating your tank, it shuts down. Now let's dive into the software to see what it's like to configure this thing, to use it, and really get in our hands and do a deep dive on it. I'm Mark Callan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. Until next time, enjoy your tanks. Happy reading the owner's manual and downloading an app. I'll catch you in the next episode.